Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Real Thoughts with Bob Benham. I'm Bob Benham, and the election is over in the United States, and we have a very clear winner in President elect Donald Trump. And he has won the popular vote and the Electoral College, and he has carried along with him the Senate. The Republicans won the Senate, and it looks like they are going to retain control of the House of Representatives, which gives him what they call a mandate. So he pretty much can get done what he wants to get done. As well as the majority of the Republican Party. So it will be interesting. They've got 2 years now to enact legislation that they deem necessary to get through. They've wasted that time so many times before. It's been ugly before. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this happen in my life, and it was ugly. So this is going to be an interesting 2 years to watch. I'm hoping that they actually get something done this time, but we'll see. I am glad for this turnout. I am glad the American people really realized that this was a vital time in our country's history, because if the election had gone the other way, it wouldn't have been good. And I have some friends that are leftists, and they are losing their minds right now. They're still on this race thing. They're still on this sexism thing. They're still on this homophobia thing. They're still on this fascist tyranny thing. I don't know. I'm just sad for them. I really am. How they can even think those things. Donald Trump was in the office before. If that stuff were going to happen before, it would have. If he was going to ruin gay rights, he would have. If he was going to harm the black community, he would have. If he was going to harm the women and take away women's rights, he would have. None of that occurred. None of it. Now, they're going to bring up the, he ruined the reproductive rights of women, and therefore the women's health and all that stuff. Well, that's a bunch of BS. He didn't ruin women's health. They still can access abortion, and they can still access birth control. Nothing happened with birth control. They can still access birth control. The only thing that was changed was that access to abortion was now placed in the hands of the states, which was the whole point of that to begin with, Roe v. Wade was a bad Supreme Court decision to begin with. It was never meant to be a national mandate as the Democrats would, or a national. It wasn't even a law. That's how bad the Supreme Court erred in that. I'm no lawyer, but I am a constitutionalist. I study the Constitution, so it was supposed to be returned to the states. The states were the ones who were supposed to enact the legislation required for the way they wanted abortion to be handled. Okay? So what President Trump did was it made it back to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court turned it back over to the states. That's what the Constitution says. The states are supposed to set their laws, okay? It's not supposed to be a national thing. Never was. So, that's the whole point of the Constitution. The laws are supposed to be made by states, and if the states err in making a law that goes against the Constitution and the freedoms that are protected by the Constitution nationwide, then it goes to the Supreme Court and they say, okay, does this violate the rights protected in the Constitution? If it does, it goes back to the states and they're supposed to fix it so it doesn't violate our rights. Okay? That's what how it's supposed to be handled. And that's just how it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, it hasn't turned out like that. The Supreme Court's kind of overstepped its bounds in making what they call case law. And that was one of the things that wasn't supposed to happen. But it has. And now we have to live with it. Another thing that with the Supreme Court is that an attorney or a former judge, it's not a requirement that an attorney or a former judge or whatever has to be appointed to the Supreme Court. It can be a normal citizen. In fact, it was designed so that a normal citizen, you, me, whoever, can be appointed to the Supreme Court. In fact, it was designed like that. It was supposed to have one of us sitting on the Supreme Court to decide, is this going against the Constitution? Does this take away a person's rights? Does this take away a person's freedoms according to what the Constitution says? Okay? That's why the Constitution is a written document. It's in black and white. Okay? So we've kind of gotten away from all that. And they've gotten to the point where it's, okay, there's this gray area, there's that gray area, or whatever you want to call it. And that's not how it was supposed to be set up and not how it was supposed to be interpreted. And then you got the Democrats saying, well, the Constitution's a living document, so therefore it can be interpreted according to this now. So it's got to be brought up to date to include this or include that. Well, no, that's not how it is. It was written back in it was adopted in 1789. Okay. So all those years ago, the people that wrote that document were absolute genius. Okay. They studied their history. They knew their history. They knew what happened previously in previous governments and previous countries and previous large powers that were like the Roman Empire. I can't even think of them right now. My brain just took a flying leap. But anyway, with all these prior large governments that were out there prior to ours, where they looked and said, okay, this government had all these laws, and they ended up screwing it up because they allowed themselves to start taxing so much that there was more people in the cart than were pulling the cart, and it collapsed under itself. So, in other words, there were more people being taxed, or less people being taxed than were being taxed. So, they taxed everybody to death. There was nobody to take taxes from, and everybody was collecting all this stuff on the government dole, and it collapsed under itself. So, and unfortunately, we're seeing that happen again in the United States, because you look at the national debt, and I mean, we're $36 trillion in debt. And how are we going to pay that? We're not. There's no way. So again, it comes down to, okay, when I look at how many people are paying taxes versus how many people are collecting welfare, or on Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, all these assistance programs, on everything else. The number of taxpayers is a whole lot less than, the number of taxpayers is basically 1/3 of the population of the country. Okay, so you got 1/3 of the people paying for the other 2/3 that are basically doing nothing. That's not going to work, folks. That's not going to work. So, something's got to change in that regard. But back to the election. I'm sorry, I'm getting off the track like I normally do. Things start popping in my head, and I just start running with it. I don't know if any of you had ever watched the Late Show, or the Late Show with Craig Ferguson back when he was doing it. Great comedian, absolutely fabulous comedian. I went to a couple tapings of his show. He would have his the teleprompter there for his jokes, and it was never the teleprompter wasn't like sitting there where it would just roll with everything written out. It was just a outline. It would just have one little line to kind of prompt him to continue on and stuff. And it would have a single line. He would know what the joke was he was wanting to tell. He would go on that joke, and then he would just start going off on something else. And then he would go, "What was I talking about? Oh, that's right." And then he would go back to the teleprompter and look and remember. And I don't have a teleprompter here. I'm just talking to you right off my head. Okay, I'm going right off of what I've learned, what I've observed over my lifetime, and what I read now. And trust me, I do a lot of reading, and I go from the sources that I take my information from. I'm everywhere. So I don't read it just from what they call the right wing sites or the left wing sites. I get it. I go all over. I mean, I go on the left wing sites. I go on the right wing sites. I go everywhere to get it. So I'm not just giving you one side or the other. I'm giving you what I've gotten from all the different things. So anyway, back to the election, anyway, Trump has a mandate now, and the fact that he's won the popular vote, which a Republican hasn't won the popular vote since 2004. So that's 20 years. That says a lot. That says a lot. And what also tells me a lot is the fact that Trump basically got the same number of votes in this election as he received back in 2020. Also, Kamala Harris received right around the same number of votes as Barack Obama did in 2008 when he was first elected, which was right around 69 million votes. She might be a little bit over that now. I haven't checked the vote count today. So she's right in line with what the Democrat vote totals usually are. So when you look back at the votes over the last 25, 30 years of presidential elections, there's one anomaly, and it is 2020. And I'm here to tell you, again, I just don't believe 2020 was a fair election. There is just no way that Joe Biden got 81 million plus votes. There ain't no way. Again, you had all these states where they stopped the count. I'd never heard of that ever happening in a presidential election ever in my life up until that point. It didn't happen in this election. They counted straight through. There was a county in Georgia that said they were going to stop, Pennsylvania, that said they were going to stop, and election watchers said, "Whoa, that's against the law. You do, and we're going to the courts right now." And they were like, "Oh, whoa, wait. And they went right back to counting. And so there was a lot more oversight on this one that didn't happen on the last one. And there was a lot more shady stuff on the last one with the votes that stopped, and the vote counting stopped. And when all of a sudden, you just look at all the states that Trump lost by, and it was by such a slim margin in those states. And they had, they stopped the count. And President Trump was way ahead in all those states where they stopped the count. And when they restarted the count, all of a sudden he was behind. Now, that was impossible. That's impossible. That doesn't, how can that happen? And all of a sudden, there were all these ballots that were dropped. You don't have a ballot drop. It just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen either. And then there was supposedly these ballots that were dropped that only had one mark on them. The entire ballot was blank except for one mark, and that was for president. It was for Joe Biden. And the ballots also appeared to have been run through a copy machine. They weren't marked by a pen. It looked like they were run through a copy machine. People, I'm sorry. You can play and say, well, this, that, whatever. And you can say, well, the courts all said no. I'm going to tell you something right now. The courts refused to even look at it. The courts didn't make a ruling on anything. Okay? There was no ruling for or against. They absolutely refused to even look at it. They dismissed it before it even made it into the courtroom. So all this propaganda that they ruled that it wasn't. No, they didn't. There was no ruling. It never made it into court. It was just that. Nope, we're not even looking at it. They came up with us. You have no standing to even make file the charge or file this suit, and that's different. That's totally different than making a ruling that no, you don't. That didn't happen. So don't even get me started on that part. But anyway, back to the results this time. So I'm just saying that when you look at it all together, it basically tells me 2020. It shouldn't. It just proves it further. The results of this one versus 2020. So anyway, Harris got, basically, Clinton got the same, or just barely under the same, the number of votes that Obama had gotten. So, and Harris was right in that ballpark. So, like I said, there's absolutely no way. No way Biden got 15 million more votes. There's just no way. No way. So anyway, now that it's all said and done, of course, the Democrats are on this major blame game as to whose fault on why they lost. They don't realize that the American people had enough. What they're trying to shove down our throats, and everybody came out and said, we're not putting up with it. So, in fact, they're still trying to shove it down our throats. You watch on the TV, and they're still saying that we're sexist, racists, homophobic, you name it. All the elites are still attacking the voters. Go have at it. Because everybody's like, you know what, go ahead, say your stuff, say whatever you want. We spoke at the election box. So whatever. Two things came out of this election that really say a lot, and one of it is our wonderful news media has zero influence anymore. They think they do, and they're going to continue to do what they've been doing for the last 20 years, 30 years. They're going to keep playing that game because they don't know what else to do. You're not going to see any change in it. They're going to continue to play the games they've been playing. You may hear a blurb. We need to kind of, we blew it here, we blew it there. Yeah, they're right. Are they going to change it? No. Be careful. Be careful, because they're going to play this game of, well, we're changing, or, no, they are not. They don't know what else to do. They can't. So, because they've been doing this for so long, they don't know any other way to do it. They don't know how to change that thought process that's ingrained up there now. It's just not going to happen. They just don't know how. They just don't know how. And the other great thing is Hollywood, or Hollyweird, whatever you want to say. Their influence, gone. And it was gone for a long time. It's just now it's smacking them in the face hard. And it's wonderful. For God's sake, they have such high opinions of themselves, and they think that they are so morally and mentally superior than the rest of us. And you are nothing. You must listen to me. I know much more than you. and you must obey. Well, guess what? The people have spoken yet again, and it's you who must obey. We don't care about you, and we won't care about you. You look at how bad their industry is doing. They're begging in California for them to start doing something because Hollywood's dying. It really is. They said the back lots are and the sets are just, there's nothing happening. They're not producing, they're not making anything. And it's because they're out of ideas. You can't do anything. They can't make anything because there's no ideas. All they're doing is all these reboots of everything from back in the day. And then they're doing the woke parts. They're trying to make sure it's all woke and everything. So the shows are bombing like crazy. Well, if you're going to make a reboot, reboots generally mean you're going to make it as funny as it was before, or try to make it even funnier or whatever, and you're not doing that. Why? Because you're trying to put dumb stuff that in there that you think is good to try to push an agenda that the people don't want to hear because they don't care and they don't like it. Get off that horse. It's a dead horse. Quit pushing it. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody likes it. So, anyway, enough on that one. It's funny. And what's really nice also, one other thing about the election, and then we're going to just kind of wrap it up here. I love it, the fact that even look at the states that Trump didn't win. And like New Jersey, New York, even California, that gap between the Republicans and the Democrats, he actually narrowed that gap. He carried more people in those states. That was interesting to see. And we're talking like 5-6 percentage points difference in closing that gap. And that's very significant. That's very telling. And what I really liked about this election, and something that was very profound, was the fact that President-elect Trump brought together a huge coalition of people. You have the working class. You have he brought together a larger number of blacks, a large number of Latinos. He brought in more women. The good part was that President Trump just knew how to bring the coalition together, and it was just wonderful to see. He knew how to get his message across, and he spoke about policy. So in doing that, it was nice to see him bringing people together and getting the message out and showing that he cares. And that was something that the Democrats just couldn't do. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today, and we got that out, and so we'll let that go for now. Thanks for checking in. and we will get another episode out here fairly quickly. I wanted to wait till the election was over with before I did another one because I wanted to see how things were going with that and how that would turn out. I was too fired up before it, and I did not want to get fired up like that again. So anyway, hopefully everything is going well with everyone. Thanks for checking in. I want to thank you for checking in and checking out my podcast. I appreciate it. And with that, we will say take care. God bless. And God bless the United States of America. I'm Bob Benham, and thanks for checking in with Real Thoughts with Bob Benham. Take care.